All right, so now that we've discussed the new features that have been added to all of the agreements, let's go ahead and discuss some of the new features related to agreements for organizations within MoSo. The ability to name each corporate agreement has been added in Atlas and will display when you're creating a corporate agreement. So this new feature will allow for the sales advisors to easily identify the different agreements available to corporate add-ons. If you remember before, if you had an organization that did have multiple agreements, it was really hard to distinguish which agreement should be used for which corporate add-on. So now you can name them to be able to tell the difference. By default, when you sell an agreement, the corporate agreement is going to be set to the name of the organization. So if you change a corporate agreement name, it must be unique within the organization. You can't have two agreements that are named the same thing. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's probably a little easier when we take a look at what I'm talking about. So we have this organization. It's called Oranges Incorporated. So Oranges Inc. has two different agreements. One is just their Oranges Inc. agreement named after the company, and their second one is Oranges Inc. _1. If you have corporations with multiple agreements, this is what it will look like when your club or when your organization is moved to Atlas. They will come across like this. So you will have the ability, though, to edit these names of the agreements from this screen, or you can sell new agreements and change the names of the agreements as you're selling them. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like for a new agreement and then what it would look like to edit the name of an already existing agreement. So for the new corporate agreement for Oranges Incorporated, let's go ahead and click on New Corporate Agreement. And then here in this field where it says Corporate Agreement Name, this is where we can name it anything we want. If we want to stick with Oranges Inc. and then add something at the end, obviously we can't call it Oranges Inc. because we already have an agreement named that exact same thing. So we could call this the Single Club Agreement. We could call it the All Club Agreement, whatever you'd like. However, you like to distinguish between the agreements if they cost the member a different amount of money, that type of thing. Whatever you'd like to put here, you're welcome to do that. So if we go to next, obviously we select the membership. So that's basically the only place that you would need to edit within this in terms of selling the membership agreement. Let's finalize this agreement so we can see what it will look like under the Agreements tab. Okay. There we go. And we're done with this one. Great, so let's go back to the Agreements tab. We're done here. And our new All Club agreement shows right here. Now these two agreements, I don't know what the difference is going to be between these. So if I do know what it looks like, if I look at the different details surrounding the agreement or the promotion within the agreement, and I know that this agreement is a single club agreement, the Oranges _1, I can go to Edit, Corporate Agreement, and I can make this just a single club. I can make it so that the title of this agreement is Single Club, and that's how it will be saved. Now, if I've made any changes to the agreements of what their names are, etc., I can look at Show Change History, and it will tell me that I updated the name of the agreement on whatever day and time it was updated. And it'll tell me that I changed it from Oranges Inc. _1 to Single Club. Now I know with a new feature like this and a lot of different options on agreement names, we probably got some questions around reporting. So I did want to let you know that reporting will reflect the corporate agreement name changes, and you'll be able to see that in the agreements rewrite, agreement initiation, agreement sales, organization list, and the organization activity reports. Moving right into our next feature for organizations, we are going to see The corporate agreement data field enhancement. Now, oftentimes organizations could ask for the ability to add information to their employees' agreements within MoSo. These things could be anything from employee identification numbers, maybe healthcare plans, maybe the branch number or the branch location in which they work, a lot of different things. Before Atlas, MoSo was not able to accommodate these special requests, and custom fields had to be put into the member record through the member screen. But in Atlas, we're now going to have the ability to add this information within the agreement, and we'll also be able to report on that information through the organization member report, which is all very exciting. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like to set up some data fields, and then how to sell it to the member so that we do need to use these data fields, whether they're required, all of that fun stuff. So to begin, we're going to look for our organization. There it is, Oranges Incorporated. Now we've created a new tab within the organization called Data Fields. Now, because this organization is relatively new and we haven't used this feature for this organization, we don't have any data fields that are required. So I can go ahead, or that are even listed, so I can go ahead and add those. So the data fields that Oranges Inc. is interested in is employee identification number. So I can say that I want to make this a default field. And the value format that we're going to use is just a string, so it's a small length, and let's make it, let's say we can make it up to 40 characters, even though it's probably not going to be more than 8 or 10. So we can update. Are you sure you want to update the field? Yes. Another field that they are interested in is hire date, and this is so that they can see the years of employment. Again, that's going to be a default field. I'll tell you what that means, or show you what that means in just a little bit. It's going to be a string, and the length, let's just say, is 10. I do want to save this data field. I'm going to change that length because I don't think we need it to be 40. Let's go ahead and change it to 20. Some other things that you might want to see is healthcare plan, maybe. Maybe they have a healthcare plan that incentivizes wellness. We won't necessarily make that a default field in case they do not hold Oranges Inc. insurance. Maybe they hold insurance from their spouse or significant other. So let's say that this is going to be 100 characters, and the value format for this is going to be text. Whoops, let's update that. Yes, I'm sure. And hire date, I just noticed I'm going to make this a date. There we go. Okay. So now that we've got these 3 data fields, let's see how this works. To use the data fields, I will not be able to use the agreements that we already have. If I want the data fields to be in my agreements, I'm going to need to rewrite these agreements, or I'm going to need to cancel and resell. So I'm going to just sell a new agreement right now, and I'm going to call it detailed. And that's because it has employee info in it. So I'm going to call it detailed employee info. We'll click next. This is all the boring stuff, going through the agreement wizard. You guys all know how to sell an agreement, so sorry, we've got to do this to get to the good stuff. And here's the good stuff. So location, obviously we have to set a location where these agreements can be sold. Now the next part, we see data fields. This is how you set up the agreement with the data fields, whether they're required or not for your corporate add-ons. So I told you that a few of these we marked as default, but one we did not. Now, if you marked them as default, which were employee ID and hire date, we did not mark the healthcare plan as default. When you go into the agreement wizard, you see that employee ID and hire date are already populated. I'm going to require both of these things when a corporate add-on is joining my club. And then I'm going to leave this as a non-required field, the healthcare plan. They can put that in there if they want to, but they don't have to. So now we can click next and we can finalize the agreement. So I'm sure you're saying, okay, we set up the corporate agreement like that. Now, what does that look like if I'm going to sell it to one of my corporate add-ons? Great question. We're going right to that space next. So I'm going to pick member. Let's go ahead and use Mary again. She's one of my favorites. And we are going to sell Mary a corporate agreement. Now the primary is going to be Oranges Incorporated, and then we can pick which agreement it is that she would like to purchase. So she is going to purchase the detailed employee info. So we know which one it is. We click next. Just going to buy this QS membership agreement. We got the bundle that she needs. Say that she's going to pay $100 in one installment. And here comes that additional information, which are the data fields required by the employer. So Mary's employee ID number. We also need to put in her hire date. So let's say she has been here for 15 years, almost. Yeah, over 15 years now. And then healthcare plan, she can decide whether or not she would like to provide this information, but she doesn't want to provide that information today. So if I don't fill out one of the required fields, it's not going to let me move on. It's telling me that the data was invalid or that I need to try again because I'm not completely finished. If it is a non-required field that isn't completed, it will still let us move on and to finalize the agreement. So let's do that now. And there we go. So that's done. Now let's say that Mary, after purchasing this agreement, she did make some changes to her healthcare and she decided to use an Oranges. She decided to use an Oranges insurance plan that we offer. So I needed to change that information, or she wanted to add that to her membership to make sure that she gets whatever incentive is associated with that. So to do that, I can just click on that membership. I can edit, and I can edit the data field, and it will allow me to add that within this editing section. So I don't have to rewrite the agreement to add any of the information. I can just edit the data field right here. So she's using a Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance that is part of Oranges Incorporated, and then I can just click save, and now that information is added to her agreement. Now, to be able to edit from this agreement screen, there is going to be a permission for your staff. So that's important to note, that you need to make sure to peel through the wiki and look at any information necessary about new permissions that are required for any of these new features, so that if this is something that you'd like to implement within your clubs or your organizations are asking for, and now we can do that for them, make sure that you look at the permissions necessary to edit these data fields within the Corporate Add-ons Agreements tab. Okay, we have one last feature to show you in corporate agreements, and this last feature is the ability to extend restrictions on rewrite and cancel for corporate agreements. So this sounds just a little bit confusing, but let's work our way through it. So this feature will prevent certain work roles from canceling or rewriting an agreement for a particular organization or for a particular organization's corporate add-on. Let's take a look at this. So we're going to configure this under agreement rules. So when we look at the agreement rules, whatever those may be, and the rules that are associated with particular agreements, there's now a corporate tab that belongs to these rules. The corporate tab will allow you to decide a company or organization, or both, whatever organization type, And then it will allow you to restrict the access of rewriting and canceling for these organizations to certain work roles. So obviously this looks just a little bit funny because it's showing that daycare and front desk and group fitness and those work roles can allow us to rewrite or cancel a corporate agreement or a corporate add-on. But I kind of wanted to just do that to show you that I'm not allowing the general manager to do that right now. I'm logged in as a general manager, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like for the GM. If the Allow button is checked, as it is for many, many work roles here, then you will be able to rewrite or cancel the corporate agreement or the corporate add-on agreement when this agreement rule is in effect. If Allow is not checked for a particular staff work role, such as the GM like it is right now, then I will not be able to rewrite or cancel the corporate agreement or the corporate add-on agreement when the rule is in effect. The message of you do not have permission to cancel or rewrite this corporate agreement will come down from the top of the screen. Now, these are new permissions, but they work together with our existing permissions that we were able to look at in Mercury. So let me show you where those work together. Under staff work roles, under agreement classification, we have the ability to rewrite and cancel certain agreements here. So these permissions are going to work hand in hand. So if I don't want the general manager to be able to cancel any agreements, membership agreements, or rewrite any membership agreements, not just corporate, then I would turn this off here and click Save. If I wanted it just to apply to corporate agreements because we want the back office to handle those, or we want our corporate account team to handle those, then I could keep these two checked because that will allow me to rewrite or cancel any general membership, but not the corporate add-on. So let's see what this looks like for our members. We sold Mary Member an agreement earlier for Oranges Incorporated. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we can see that this is her Oranges agreement listed right here. And logged in as a GM, as I try to cancel, it's telling me that cancellation is not allowed. You do not have permission to cancel this corporate agreement. If I try to rewrite, it's going to give me the exact same error message. Now, if I log out and log in as a different work role, and I go to the same member, and this work role has permission, I go to the same agreement and I cancel, it's going to allow me to proceed through the cancellation wizard. So to review this feature briefly, under agreement rules, you are now going to be able to limit work roles that can rewrite and cancel corporate agreements and organizational types of these corporate agreements. So if you only want general managers to be able to rewrite and allow for companies, you can make that a rule here. If you only want your corporate sales team to be able to work on the organizations, then you can manage that here. So for more information about this, any permissions associated, so on and so forth, please check out the wiki. All right, so that concludes the agreement portion. I know that was a long one. Thank you for sticking with us through it. But at this time, we're going to answer any questions that have come in throughout the presentation. And then we'll go ahead and move on into gift cards and discounts and a couple of other fun features.